My name is Evelyn Cross, and tonight, I am going to bury a monster in the very garden he built on top of my life. The rain in Blackwood Valley doesn't just fall, it drowns the truth under layers of thick, suffocating mud. For 12 years, the world believed I died in the fire that consumed the Cross Manor, a tragic, freak accident caused by a faulty gas line, or so the official police report claimed. They identified a charred skeleton, closed the case, and handed the massive Cross estate over to my husband, Julian Vance. Julian wept beautifully at the memorial. He wiped away phantom tears with a silk handkerchief while wearing a tailored black suit paid for by my family's fortune. He looked like a grieving prince. But beneath that flawless exterior sat a cold-blooded sociopath who had locked me in the cellar, set the mansion ablaze, and substituted a body he had procured from a local morgue to claim everything I owned. He didn't know I had escaped through the old smuggler's tunnel beneath the foundation, bleeding, blistered, and broken. He didn't know I survived in the shadows of London for over a decade, reconstructing my broken face, my shattered identity, and my entire existence with a single, burning purpose: absolute, unyielding retribution. Tonight, Julian is hosting his annual midsummer gala in the rebuilt Cross estate, a gleaming glass and steel monument to his arrogance. I stand in the torrential downpour outside the wrought iron gates, wearing a high-collared crimson dress that masks the faint burn scars on my neck. The invitation in my clutch bears the name Lady Genevieve Sterling, an enigmatic high society investor from Zurich who recently acquired a 30% stake in Julian's flagship enterprise, Vance Global. Julian loves money more than he loves air, which made baiting him utterly effortless. For 6 months, I fed his greed through shell corporations, dangling investments so massive that he gladly invited this mystery benefactor into his inner sanctum. As I step past the security checkpoint, the guard scans my golden invitation and bows deferentially. My heels click against the marble floor of the foyer, the exact spot where my father used to read me bedtime stories before Julian carefully orchestrated his accidental, fatal fall down the grand staircase. My heart beats heavily against my ribs, but my hands remain steady. I am no longer the naive heiress who fell for a charming smile and poetic promises. I am the architect of his demise. The grand ballroom is alive with classical music, clinking crystal glasses, and the fake laughter of elite parasites. And there he stands at the center of the room. Julian Vance, 50, silver-tempered, impeccably groomed, holding a glass of vintage champagne. Beside him stands his younger wife, Clara, the former maid whom I once considered a sister, the woman who had helped Julian lock the cellar door on the night of the fire. Seeing them together doesn't break my heart. It ignites a fierce, icy fire in my veins. Lady Sterling. Julian's rich baritone voice cuts through the ambient noise as he turns toward me, offering a wide, charismatic smile. The woman of the hour. We were beginning to fear the storm would keep you in the city. A little water could never keep me away from such a significant milestone, Mr. Vance, I say, lowering my voice to a smooth, husky pitch, altered years ago by vocal cord surgery. I extend my gloved hand. He touches his warm lips to the back of my leather glove. He doesn't recognize me. Not my eyes, obscured by hazel contact lenses. Not my jawline, restructured by porcelain plates. Not my presence, completely stripped of its old innocence. You have a breathtaking home, I remark, scanning the cavernous room with deliberate coldness. Although, if I am not mistaken, the original Cross Manor stood on these very grounds before the tragedy. Julian's smile tightens slightly, a micro-expression of discomfort that only someone who studied his habits for years would catch. Yes, a dreadful tragedy, he sighs, putting on his signature expression of somber dignity. My late wife, Evelyn, she was fragile, careless with candles. I tried to save her, but the flames, well, the past is best left buried. Wouldn't you say? Some things refuse to remain buried, Mr. Vance. I reply softly, taking a flute of champagne from a passing waiter's tray, especially when the soil is shallow. Before he can process my remark, Clara steps forward, her diamond necklace sparkling under the chandeliers, A necklace that once belonged to my mother. Genevieve, darling. Clara purrs, offering an affectionate fake smile. Julian tells me you're ready to finalize the transfer of the $40 million investment into our green energy initiative tonight. We have the documents prepared in the private study upstairs. Indeed, I say, glancing toward the grand staircase. Let us finish our business away from the crowd. The clock is ticking after all. We ascend the stairs to the second-floor study, the very room where my father signed his last will. The heavy mahogany door shuts, cutting off the muffled orchestra music below. Julian steps behind his massive oak desk, sliding a stack of legal documents toward me, alongside a fountain pen. Everything is drafted according to your parameters, Lady Sterling, Julian says, his eyes gleaming with unvarnished avarice. Once you sign, the funds enter escrow, and Vance Global expands into the European market by sunrise. I pick up the pen, rolling it between my fingers. Before I sign, Julian, I have a final question. He pauses, brow furrowing slightly at my sudden use of his first name. Of course. What is it? Do you ever hear the screaming? I ask calmly. The room goes dead silent. Clara frowns, looking between Julian and me. I beg your pardon? Julian asks, his voice dropping an octave, losing its polished warmth. The screaming, I repeat, standing up slowly and unbuttoning my white fur wrap, letting it slide to the floor. The way Evelyn pounded on that heavy cellar door while the smoke filled her lungs. The way she screamed your name, believing, until the very last second, that the man she loved would open the door. Julian's face drains of color. Clara takes a step back, her hand flying to her throat. Who are you? Julian stammers, reaching under the lip of his desk toward the silent alarm button. Don't bother, I say softly, drawing a small, sleek black device from my clutch and setting it on the desk. I jammed the state's security frequency 10 minutes ago.
No alarms, no guards.
Just us. You're crazy, Clara gasps, her voice trembling. Julian, call security on the landline. I am not crazy, Clara, I say, finally reaching up to remove my hazel contact lenses and unclipping the high leather collar around my neck, exposing the jagged, raised burn scars that cover my throat. I look straight into Julian's terrified eyes with my natural, piercing blue gaze. I am the woman whose life you stole. Julian stumbles backward, knocking his leather chair over with a heavy thud. Evelyn, no. You died. I saw the dental records. You burned to ashes. You burned a homeless woman you murdered to cover your theft, I say, stepping around the desk. And for 12 years, you lived on my inheritance, drank my father's wine, and slept in my house. But every penny you spent, Julian, every single document you signed over the past 5 years was routed through my shell networks. You didn't just invite a Swiss investor tonight. You signed over total legal ownership of every asset, every property, and every patent you possess to the Cross Trust. Clara lets out a choked scream, dropping her glass onto the rug. Julian, what is she talking about? Julian's shock suddenly morphs into something far darker, far more familiar. The helpless shock vanishes, replaced by the twisted, predatory smile I remembered from the night of the fire. He reaches into his desk drawer and pulls out a sleek snub-nosed revolver, aiming it directly at my chest. You always were too smart for your own good, Evelyn. Julian sneers, his voice trembling with manic rage. You think you walked into a trap of your own making? You think you're the master strategist here? Look at you. You walked right into my private study, alone, unarmed, revealing your true identity before the contract was even processed. Did you really think I'd let you walk out of here alive a second time? I don't flinch. I don't step back. I simply smile. Shoot me, Julian. Go ahead. Don't test me, he snarls, cocking the hammer. I killed your father. I killed that miserable girl in the cellar, and I will gladly put a bullet in your head and roll your body into the river. I own the police chief. I own the coroner. I'll claim you were an unhinged intruder. I know you killed my father, I say quietly, and I know you'd shoot me right now, except for one small detail. What detail? He spits, his finger tightening on the trigger. Look at Clara, I say smoothly. Julian glances sideways for a fraction of a second. Clara isn't cowering in fear anymore. She is standing near the doorway, holding a small brass key in her trembling hands, her expression twisted into a mask of cold, bitter hatred, not directed at me, but at Julian. What are you doing, Clara? Julian demands, his composure cracking. Get over here. She isn't going to help you, Julian, I say, taking a step closer to the gun barrel. Because 3 months ago, when I began setting up Vance Global's liquidation, I made contact with Clara. I showed her the offshore bank accounts you set up in Panama, the ones where you hid $60 million under the name of your new 22-year-old assistant in London. Julian's eyes widen in horror as he turns fully toward his wife. Clara, she's lying. It's a trick. It isn't a trick, Julian, Clara whispers, tears of rage spilling down her cheeks. I checked the account numbers myself. You were going to leave me. Just like you discarded Evelyn when you got what you wanted, you were going to frame me for embezzlement and run off to Europe. Clara, shut up and help me. Julian roars, moving to raise the gun toward her.
Bang!
A shot echoes through the closed room, but it doesn't come from Julian's hand. Clara draws a compact pistol from her designer handbag and fires point-blank into Julian's shoulder. The force knocks him off his feet, his revolver slipping from his hand and sliding across the hardwood floor right to my feet. Julian groans in agony, clutching his bloody shoulder as he sprawls across the rug. You shot me, you stupid bitch. You shot me. Julian screams, gasping for breath. I calmly bend down, pick up Julian's revolver, and tuck it into my clutch. Then I look at Clara. You played your part well, Clara. Clara breathes heavily, shaking as she lowers her weapon. We had an agreement, Evelyn. You get your father's estate back, you destroy his company, and I get the Panama accounts. I gave you the access codes to his private safe tonight like you asked. We're even. Are we? I ask softly, turning my gaze to her. A sudden, chilling realization washes over Clara's face. What do you mean? You promised. I promised I would share the truth with you, I say, reaching into my pocket and pulling out a small remote control. And the truth is, Clara, you didn't just stand by while Julian locked me in the cellar 12 years ago. You brought him the kerosene. You held the matches. I watched you through the floor vent while I was choking on smoke. Evelyn, please, Clara whimpers, taking a step back toward the door. I was young. He manipulated me. He threatened to kill me if I didn't help him. You were greedy. I correct her coldly, just like him. I press the red button on the remote. Instantly, the heavy oak door of the study clicks, and electromagnetic locks slide into place with a sickening thud. The windows lock automatically, heavy iron shutters descending outside the glass. What did you do? Julian shrieks from the floor, his face pale from blood loss. What is this? This room is reinforced, soundproof, and sealed. I explain with terrifying calm, walking over to the hidden door behind the bookshelf, the entrance to the old smuggler's tunnel I had spent the last 3 years secretly restoring. Downstairs, the gala guests are currently receiving automated broadcast messages on their phones. The messages contain Julian's recorded confession regarding my father's murder, the corporate fraud evidence, and Clara's bank transfers. The police are already on their way. You crazy lunatic, Clara screams, throwing herself against the sealed mahogany door, beating her fists against the wood. Let us out. Open the door. The police will arrive in 15 minutes, I say, stepping into the dark opening of the secret tunnel. They will find the two of you locked in here together, a murderer and his accomplice, turning on each other over stolen money, covered in each other's blood. Evelyn, wait, please. Julian wheezes, crawling toward the bookshelf, dragging his bleeding arm. I loved you. I still love you. Don't do this. I stop at the threshold of the dark passage, looking back at the two parasites who had ruined my youth, stolen my family, and left me for dead. The pain that had burned inside my chest for 12 long years suddenly dissolved, replaced by a profound, icy clarity. You never loved me, Julian. I say softly. You just loved the shadow of power. Enjoy the darkness. I step into the tunnel, pull the lever, and the bookshelf slides shut with a finality that rings like a funeral bell. Outside in the storm, 10 minutes later, I emerge into the quiet woods surrounding the estate. The rain washes over my face, cool and cleansing. In the distance, the faint wail of police sirens breaks through the sound of thunder, rushing toward the glowing mansion on the hill. I pull off my leather gloves, drop them into the dark mud, and walk toward the waiting car. The heiress Evelyn Cross died in the fire 12 years ago, but tonight, the survivor walked free into the dawn.